We're coming upon the Yom Tov of Sukkos. So, Sukkos, we have many mitzvahs. One of the mitzvahs is the mitzvah of the Daled Minim, the mitzvah of taking the four species. And we know it's symbolic of different things. The Sefer HaChinuch gives a simple explanation that one way we can understand it is to appreciate, especially when we lived in an agricultural society, and this was the time of gathering together the crops, that this represents taking different crops and waving them before Hashem and saying, "Thank you, Hashem, we know that it comes from you." The Medrash brings other ideas of the symbolism of what these different species are meant to represent. The Pri Eitz Hadar Kapostim are Eitz Avot Rabbi Nochal. So Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Emor in Lamed Yud Beis brings an famous idea that it represents four different types of Jews. Says the Chazal, the esrog has tam and it has reach, it has taste and it has smell. So too, there are Jews who it represents a Jew who has Torah and has mitzvahs. Kapos tamarim, the lulav, has taste, but it doesn't have a smell. It represents a Jew who has Torah, but doesn't do good deeds. Sometimes it's a bad thing if a Jew just has zero respect for Torah, even if he academically studies it. I assume what Chazal are referring to is a person who learns Torah and values and has a relationship with it, but he follows his Yetzer Hara and he doesn't do the amount of mitzvahs that he's supposed to do. And Eitz Yosef says, Tam Agadol Mimaisa, that's why the Torah here is represented by the Tam and the mitzvahs represented by the Reach. Then we have the Hadas. The Hadas has a smell, but it doesn't have taste. It represents a Jew who does mitzvahs, but he doesn't have a relationship with the Torah. And then we have the Arava. It doesn't have taste and it doesn't have a smell. It represents a Jew who doesn't have Torah, nor does he have mitzvahs. So Hashem says, what am I going to do? I'm not going to destroy them. Hashem says, let me bind them all together in one aguda, and then they'll be mechaper on each other. If you do this, I'm uplifted. The pasuk says Hashem is uplifted when we're one aguda, and that's why Moshe warns them to take it. Don't take these four species on the first day. So it's a beautiful idea that Hashem is uplifted when He sees this achdus among us, and that's part of what we represent when we take the different species. The esrog seems to represent the ben Torah, the person who wants a relationship with Torah and with mitzvahs and with Yiras Shamayim, and he is kept separate from the other three, and at the same time we bring them together. And then we have Jews who learn Torah, Jews who do mitzvahs, and we even have the Arava. The Jews who have a lot to work on, who are very much lacking, they're also brought in as part of the group. They're important and valued in Hashem's eyes. So I wondered a little bit, who is the Arava? Who does the Arava refer to? It would seem to me, based on my knowledge, that it doesn't refer to just anybody who is born Jewish. I want to read from you an idea from a book. It's called To Remain a Jew. It's an autobiography by someone named Yitzchak Zilber. Incredible, mind-blowing book of his story of his growing up in Soviet Russia in the 1920s and trying to grow up as a religious Jew. And he talks about a group called the Veksektia. It was the Jewish organization within the Communist Party. And he talks about how they were the ones who mercilessly fought against their parents' faith. They closed shuls and mikvahs, purveyed kosher slaughter, ensured that those who taught Torah were put in jail. The Torah tells us to remember Amalek, never to forget Amalek. Says of Zilber, before World War II, I wondered why the Torah makes eternal the remembrance of Amalek's evil more than all the other enemies of the Jewish people. During the war, I understood. Amalek is more horrible and dangerous than all our other enemies. Amalek had only one reason to attack their Jews. Their land wasn't in danger. The reason they attacked the Jews is because the Jews believed in Hashem and they were influencing other nations, and Amalek, that was something they couldn't tolerate. So they went, they were defeated, but they weakened the respect for the Jews and for Hashem in everyone's eyes, and that was their goal. And they're Am Lik, a nation who licks their wounds, they enjoy their murderous spree. The gematria of Amalek, he says, is Safek. The main goal of Amalek is to plant a doubt in the heart of the Jews. Who said there's Hashem? Who said that the Torah is from Hashem? Maybe I don't need to keep all these things. That's what they do. They karcha baderech. They cool off the hearts of the Jewish people. Amalek's throne is incomplete as long as there is an Amalek. The Nazis were clearly exposed as Amalek. The Gemara talks about it, and it was clear during the Second World War. And he writes, before the Second World War, while the Germans were quiet, some Jews advocated we shouldn't remember Amalek and poison our souls with hatred. Now Germany tries to ensure the past will be forgotten. A Jewish partisan said, let the name of that Jew who will dare to forget what the Germans did to us be erased. Why am I talking about Amalek in connection with the Evektzia? Because the Evektzia, they closed shuls, executed rabbis, forced Jews to work on a Shabbos. That's also Amalek. If a person does wrong, it's one thing. If a person's trying to prevent others from acting correctly, that's Amalek. Rav Elchanan Wasserman quoted his teacher from the Chavetz Chaim. I heard from the Chavetz Chaim, to me it's clear that they, the Evektzia, are from the seed of Amalek. Chavetz Chaim said everything that the Torah prescribes concerning Amalek extends to the Evektzia. Any contact, any peace with them is out of the question. It says the Evektzia, they were the ones who succeeded in the arrest of the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Leningrad, assuming they mean the sixth one. They insisted on his execution. They're the ones who took away his tefillin in jail. It says even today we have Jews. They call themselves atheists, but they don't attack Muslims, they don't attack Christians, they only attack religious Jews. As long as they struggle solely against the Jewish faith, says Rav Zilber, they are Amalek. We can never forgive Amalek. He speaks passionately as someone who lived through it and experienced it, and I think he makes a very true point that not every Jew is included in the Arava. Which leads to the question, who is the Arava referring to? The Eitz Yosef on the Medrash, he brings from the Vilna Gaon in his Sefer Aderes Eliyahu on Vizos HaBracha, he says it represents a Jew who is Einon Porish Midarchei HaTzibur U'Machana Atzma B'Shem Yisrael. He doesn't separate himself from the Jewish people. He's proud to be a member of the Jewish people, calls himself a Jew. He says just the fact that he's a kofar b'avodah zarah gives him reward. Just the fact that he denies avodah zarah. I was discussing it with a dear friend of David Muja. We're going through the Rambam about what means a Porish Min HaTzibur, what means a kofar, who are obviously also they're not Amalek, they're not from the seed of the Erev Rav in that sense. I think the explanation of the Amalek idea is there's this idea that the seed of the Erev Rav, the multitude that joined us in the Midbar, that some of them contained Amalek. Like Vilna Gaon talks at length about them, how they'll be the face of the Jewish people, unfortunately, in the times of Galus. But there's this idea, I believe who the Eitz Yosef means, the Vilna Gaon means, is somebody who says, I believe in Hashem, I believe that the Torah is true, I believe in the basics, and I'm proud to be a Jewish person, and I associate with the Jewish people, I belong to that community. Just whatever, I have a Yitzhara, I don't keep the Torah, I don't keep the mitzvahs. A friend was quoting me the Orach HaNer, that even the concept of Machal Shabbos Befar Hesya, that it doesn't mean in today's world what it meant back then. Back then people were, a certain faith of a person was being Machal Shabbos Befar Hesya, it showed that they really did not believe in Hashem, and that's not the situation today. Again, I think even the Evektzia can do tshuva. Certainly a person who doesn't believe in Hashem, we try to be Mekarev, and they could do tshuva. But I don't believe that that's what's included in the Arava. But the Arava includes a Jew who, even if they don't keep the Torah, but they believe that Hashem is real, they believe that the Torah is real, and they're proud to be associated with the Jewish people. And I think it's an important lesson for us in this time when we're sitting in the Sukkah and we're enveloped in Hashem's Shekhinah and just enjoying that relationship that we have with Hashem, to remember that we have this connection with each other and that we want to uplift each other and bring each other closer to Hashem and to His Torah and the mitzvahs. And Hashem values all of us, and Hashem wants all of us there in the Lulav and Esrog together. And we hope that we'll all influence each other and increase our fear of heaven and increase our relationship and love that we feel and trust that we feel for Hashem and our connection to His Torah and to His mitzvahs, and thereby become a more uplifted, united people, and thereby uplift HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever that means, and bring us closer to the Gula Shalema. So wishing everyone a Chag Kasher v'Sameach and a good Shabbos.